Okay, so here we are coming out of Coos Bay, Oregon on the FTRs on this epic long distance multi-day Yamaha FJR adventure. Now, one thing I want to talk about is safety. Again, I do discuss safety a lot in my motorcycle videos because I want you guys to be safe. I want me to be safe. Make no mistake, what we're doing on this trip, a lot of potential danger. Lots. Now, I use the word technical road riding, not for this road. I don't think this is that technical. Technical, to me, this is just my definition, is if you screw up in a turn, you're dead. It could apply to this road. I mean, if I screw up on one of these turns, it could be bad. But I'm talking like cliffside stuff. You go sailing over a 200-foot cliff. Yeah, like that. And later in this ride, it won't be today. It'll probably be tomorrow when we cut through the Sierra Nevadas. That's going to be technical riding. A lot of opportunities to get hurt, die. That's, to me, what technical means. But here you got a ton of RVs like this dude right here. Dude, if you overshoot a turn, you swing wide on a turn and you do a tire to grill impact, you're dead. You're dead. You're not even going to survive that. I don't care what gear you have on. Too much kinetic energy and the body can't take it. You're just dead. So, I'm saying this not to act like what we're doing is that dangerous. It isn't. But I don't want people to see these videos and act like, oh yeah, man, motorcycle riding is very low risk. Everything you do in life is risky, just about. Motorcycle riding is definitely risky. I'm not going to say it isn't. I never have. What I said is you can manage your risks and make it palatable for you. Really minimize the threat to yourself by how you drive. That's huge. That's huge. And then when I talk about motorcycle safety, this is my approach, and I've been talking about this in some videos. I've told guys, like, hey, you need to understand the two sides of motorcycle riding. Risk, work. Let's talk about where I am right now. So I have no hands on the steering wheel. I've got cruise control. And we're good to go. This is low risk, low work. Risk-wise, I'm going to rate it, for me, 1. Work-wise, 1. But that's for me at my riding level. For your riding level, you'll always, have to have your hands on the grips, and that's totally cool. And by the way, I rarely do that. It's just only on that one straight section. I'm just briefly taking my hands off the handlebars, and that's very rare I do that. Usually there's at least one hand on there. But I did it to make the point of risk and work. So this is straight. I could see vehicles coming. It's a bright sunny day. There's no fog, there's no ice, no snow, no rain. That all goes into both, factorizations of those numbers. Risk and work. And when you ride, think about it. How much risk am I taking right now? How much work am I doing right now? Because sometimes Sean and I, today we're going to throw down 500 miles. We have 415 to go. 500 miles on a bike today. We don't want to be working hard the whole time. It's exhausting. Let's rate this one right here. So here's a turn. Again, clear day. I'm well rested. I got a good night's sleep. That, by the way, factors in it too. So if you're tired, your numbers are going to go way up. I'm going to say, especially for my speed selection, 72 miles an hour, I want to say risk, 2. Very low risk on that turn for me. Work, very low. For me, 1. So that's a very low number turn right there. Here we are again on the straightaway. I can see traffic coming. I can see it coming up behind. The visibility is outstanding. Very low. Very low. My speed is low. Awesome. How can I change those numbers? a lot of factors would change the numbers. Experience level is the biggest one. If you haven't driven your motorcycle in a long time, your number's going to be higher. Just by you throwing a leg over your bike, you're starting out at a 3 on both sides. Risk and work, 3. I don't care if it's straight road or not. But since you haven't driven for a long time, you're not comfortable with it, you're not comfortable with your bike, you're not practiced, your number's going to be higher. And by the way, for me, on my ratings, they go to 5. I'm not taking them all the way to 10, so it's like 0 to 5. And I never use 0, ever, because you're on a motorcycle. It's not a 4-wheeled conveyance, it's 2-wheeled. And so you're always going to be assuming more risk, more work. You have to really pay attention. You're multitasking in a lot of different ways you probably don't even realize. Risk and work. These corners for me are like 2s, if that. Now, if I come into this corner doing 90 miles an hour, guess what my numbers do? They go way off the chart. My work level is very high, probably all the way at 5. My risk level is high. Look at this turn right here. Can you imagine doing this at 90? And you just barely come out of the turn briefly and screw up your line, you're going to end in that hillside at 90 miles an hour. You're probably dead. So like I've said, speed selection is tremendously important for both numbers, risk and work. If you're at a lower speed, your numbers are going to be much lower. Something you can manage. If you're at a higher speed, especially for the conditions, your level of competency, your numbers are going to be high. On a long distance trip like we're doing today, I try to keep my numbers pretty low. I don't want to work that hard, and I don't want to assume a lot of risk. But that's for me at my experience level, which is hundreds of thousands of miles on motorcycles, all types of different motorcycles. Right? For you, it might be different. Now, another way you can lower your numbers is by taking a safety course. You can go and take an MSSF, Motorcycle Safety Foundation safety course. That will teach you a lot of good stuff. You can go take, if you have in your area, a law enforcement motorcycle course. I did that at Alameda County. I took theirs. A lot of good things discussed: braking, emergency braking, maneuvering, where your head should be looking when you turn, multitasking. All these things are covered both in ground school and practical exercises. They're going to lower your numbers. You do want to lower your numbers and keep them low as much as you can. Well, to a point. And what I mean by that is there'll be a time, like I'm on a sport touring bike. This is a Yamaha FJR 1300cc super sport. Well, not super sport, but it's a sport motorcycle, more or less. It's fairly powerful. I'm not going to say it's the fastest bike I ride, but it's pretty good. And there's a time when you, like, let's say the conditions are right, the road conditions are right, the motorcycle's perfect, and you want a sport ride. And I'm not saying you should never do that. I think by saying that, it would be a lie. And by sport riding, I'm saying you're going to kind of get on it. And so you're going to, let's talk about this though. I'm getting ready to do a pass. What's my risk level? Depending on how I do it, it could be pretty high. Also, this is such a huge trailer, I can't really see. I have to come out to the edge just to see what the hell I'm doing. This very powerful motorcycle is safe. See that? So I can gun it and make it happen. I have the horsepower to affect that pass. And look at Sean, he's like right with me the whole time. But there is a time that perhaps you do want a sport ride, and I'm not going to say you should never do that. What I'm saying is you should just, let's just call it choosing your numbers. Choose your numbers smart. You know, just be smart on your numbers. Say, hey, am I willing to take a high number on where I'm at today? And maybe you are. Maybe you're good to go. And I've done it before. I've shown it in the project, like cutting through the coastal mountains. I'm driving with high numbers. Because if I screw up on some of that high spirited sport driving I've shown, bad things are going to happen, dude. And by the way, it's not just street riding like we're doing here. It's every type of riding. Every time you're on a motorcycle, you have numbers, whether you realize it or not. You've got a risk number, you've got a work number. And you may not realize it. You will now after watching this video. In fact, after hearing this discussion, you're going to think about it when you motorcycle. And that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to constantly evaluate where your risk is, where your work is. Right now, ones, both sides, 1 and 1. Low risk, low work. When I'm lane splitting in California, depending on what the situation is, because lane splitting can have a lot of different numbers. A lot of people see lane splitting, they go, well, you're always at a 5 on both sides. You're 5 at risk, you're 5 at work. That's not true. That is not true. Not for me in my experience level. Me, on a normal lane splitting situation, by normal I mean my differential speed with the traffic is very low, which it almost always is. I would say work is 3 and risk is 3, maybe 4. Depends. If I decide to lane split, which I have done and will do in the future with moving traffic, and it's a higher speed, maybe I'm lane splitting at 70 miles an hour, which you're technically not supposed to do. Well, I do it because, like, the guys maybe weaving back and forth. It's a car I don't want to be behind, or it's a car that blocks my vision, like that huge trailer back there. Maybe that's the case. Well, then in that case, if I did that, my risk level would be like a 4, maybe a 5. And as an experienced motorcyclist, especially if you do sport riding, I'm not going to say, once again, you can never bounce to high numbers. What I'm saying is, like, if you bounce to high numbers, try to get them low as soon as you can. So if you do a pass, try to stabilize the bike and get back to low numbers. Think of work and risk as constantly changing. They're like sliding scales. It's like an LED readout, and each number has an LED, and so they are cycling constantly depending on your throttle control, what you're doing, the road. Here's risk right here. So now my risk is 4. Did you see that? This guy could pull out in front of me right there. Anytime there's traffic that can pull out in front of you, your risk number is going to be very high. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what he's doing. Another side of the discussion. Because he is, maybe he's paying attention, maybe he isn't. He might be distracted on the phone. He can't see my freaking Baja Designs light, my lime green fluorescent riding gear. He's a moron. Yeah, I get it. You're right. He can still pull right out in front of me. When you're in city traffic and you have traffic that could potentially turn in front of you, you're not going to be low risk numbers ever. You're going to be like at least a 3, and you need to have your head on a swivel and drive accordingly. Quick pass. Well, I need power for this to make this pass quick, because again, I want to get back to low numbers. As soon as I get my pass done, my numbers start decreasing. During the pass, my numbers come higher, depending on where I decide to pass, how I decide to pass. Always try to work to the low number, especially on a long distance motorcycle trip, because you'll be less fatigued that way. You won't feel stressed. That corner right there for me was like a 2 and a 2. 2 and a 2. If I took that at 100 miles an hour, it'd be like a 5 and a 5. And no, I wouldn't take it at 100 miles an hour. Look at how cool this area is, dude. We passed some very, very lush driving a while back, and we weren't filming. I was talking with Sean. The more exposure you have to different motorcycles too, I think that makes you a better motorcyclist. That's kind of hard for a lot of guys, because they usually will have one bike, maybe 2 bikes. But if you drive a lot of different, I shouldn't say a lot, but several disciplines within the motorcycle lifestyle. It's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. I don't think of motorcycling as a hobby. It really needs to be a lifestyle. It's how you live. Sean lives it, I live it, and I've lived it for years. And again, it drives to the safety. So here's, I take this corner, I'm like, do I disengage the cruise control? And I'm like, no, I could take this at 75, no problemo. No problemo. But oftentimes you'll see me squeeze the left lever just to take cruise control off, just so I have more options, because maybe I'm going to face a decreasing radius turn and I don't want to have cruise control do it. Another thing I can do is I'll just go down 2 dits. So here it is right here, 1, 2. I'll just take off a few miles per hour, lowering my numbers. Also, I'm coming up on a traffic situation here. I have a truck and a motorcycle in front of him, so I'm going to have to pass him sooner or later, and I'm just like, well, I'd rather delay that pass because this is work. Again, this is a long distance trip. I'm trying to minimize work. And here's the ideal situation, and this is why I want you to think of it. The ideal motorcycle ride would be you have no traffic. You don't have anybody on the road but you and your buddy. That you own the road. You don't have to worry about passing. You don't have to worry about oncoming traffic overshooting their lane and coming into you. That's perfect. Let me make sure this is filming still. Okay, I'm back. It's going good. I have to do that because this freaking GoPro cuts off without me knowing it. I know I should have the app open, but I'm using Waze right now. So, perfect conditions would be that you have nobody on the road with you. It's just you. Here's an unforeseen stop right here. See this? That is an unforeseen stop. There's no stop sign there. You got it. There's Methuselah. Check that dude out, dude. Is that dude barefooted? It seems like he was. Got nothing but his walking stick and a sense of adventure. Now I want to pass this guy too. He's going way too slow for me. Not going to be putting along like this. Just planning the pass. Trying to minimize my numbers with the way I ride. You guys might be in this situation and you go, well, I'm just going to stay behind that guy. I'm not passing. It's a double yellow. I'm not passing. And I say rock on. That's how you should do it for you. I'm not doing it that way. So, I mean, I try to keep my numbers low, but I'm not going to go to sleep behind some dude that's doing 27 miles an hour. That's not going to happen. No, thank you. We're talking about the perfect road. The perfect road has no other traffic on it. Has perfect traction. There's no gravel. There's no leaves. There's no rain. There's no snow. There's no black ice. It's perfect. Here's a high threat situation. This guy can pull right out in front of me. I need to be ready for it. But you don't have perfect roads. You have lots of other people. They're sharing the road with you. That's a-okay. But you need to drive accordingly. Drive accordingly. Really watch out. When you come into an urban environment, real urban environment, this isn't one, this is a small town. I'm talking about like big city, lots of cars, trucks, bicyclists, mopeds, electric scooters. Numbers going to go up. They have to go up. It's just the way it is. Doesn't mean you can't ride that safely. Sean and I do ride that safely, and we do it all the time. But it just means that, you know, we're just applying our skill and experience. You want those to increase always. I don't know if you're ever not learning on a motorcycle. I don't think you've ever arrived and you go, oh, I'm perfect. There's nothing that can ever surprise me. You can be highly experienced, which Sean and I are, but we always approach motorcycling with a sense of humility We're not acting like we're badasses out here. We realize that, he and I both realize that we can die at any given time if we screw up. And I don't want that to be like hyper dramatic, but I'm just saying that's what it can do. See, here's a threat right here. See these guys? They're queued up to turn right in front of me. They cannot see me. So I need to be ready for emergency braking. Both brakes. And when we do that, we're going to stay on our bike. We're going to keep a straight line if at all possible. And we're really going to honk on the brakes, both front brake and back brake. You'll be amazed that if you have traction, this is a big if, like a good road surface, you'll be amazed how quickly you can break your bike down if you have good tires, your brakes are in good condition, and you're practiced. Like, I want an emergency brake now because Sean's behind me and we're on a roadway, of course. But dude, I can get this bike stopped quick. And let's say one of those cars turned in front of me. I'm sitting here talking about risk, and let's just say while I was discussing a car turning in front of me, one doesn't. Then I go into an emergency braking situation. You will have a split second to decide a couple things. You're going to say, am I going to go straight and perhaps hit the car that's in front of me, or am I going to attempt to maneuver? And I'm not going to tell you carte blanche what you should do. It's situationally dependent. Here comes the Interstate 5 as we head south towards Reno again. Every situation is dependent. Do you have maneuvering room? Do you have pavement on the right? Is there an obstacle like a guardrail, a cliff that will do more damage to you instead of taking the car? You might be able to avoid that threat, but generally I would say you're either going to brake or maneuver. It's hard to do both. And the more speed you can scrub off before you hit that car, the more likely you are to be a-okay. So have in your mind, it's like, okay, this guy turned in front of me, I really don't have a place to maneuver. I'm going to just elect to do emergency braking. I'm going to take as much speed off my ride as I possibly can. I'm going to hit the guy, and I'm probably going to come off the bike, and it's going to be high drama. But I'd rather hit that car sideways doing 20 miles an hour versus 65. 65 gives you a lot of kinetic energy to dissipate. You want to just scrub that speed off, and at 20 miles an hour you may even stay on your bike. Chances are you're going to come off. You're on a high side. That's why I wear the Hit Air inflatable vests, because they'll protect my spine, my neck, and they'll inflate. And as I pancake and I land upside down, I'm basically going to let that thing will self-deflate automatically, and then I'll just get up and probably walk away. I'm talking low speed. If it's high speed, all bets are off. Interesting discussion though, right? Motorcyclists in the Nutnfancy project. What's my numbers right now? Here I am on an interstate. I've got my cruise set at 80, just chilling. I would say my numbers are 1 and 1. Maybe a little bit higher because I'm narrating, and when you narrate in the camera for the GoPro, it does take some of your mental capacity. And so, you know, back there, I guess I'm giving you numbers for not narrating. Narrating, I probably shouldn't go lower than a 2 on both of them, because I'm thinking about GoPros, the mic's still working. Did the camera battery die? Am I talking to a dead camera right now? There's a distraction. Okay, so that's the truth. There's a distraction, and the question is, how much of a distraction is it? For an inexperienced motorcyclist, I would not recommend it, because your number's going to be really high doing a moto vlog. You want to be focused on the road. Everything that's going on the road, threats. By the way, Sean hates this stuff. So he's like, oh crap, we're going to be on an interstate for hours. I'm like, well, yeah. It's like if we're going to keep a schedule, there's no way we can come over here. This is kind of an aside. My threat doing that just went higher, so I went to 3 and 3, because here I am in ways on a motorcycle. 3 and 3 for me. On a straight, I wouldn't do that in a turn normally. If I did it on a turn, especially this one where it shows a decreased speed here on this turn, your numbers are going to go higher. I do not recommend doing that. Focus on the turn. Off comes cruise control. just so I have more options. I want to stay about the same speed, get a good lean, make sure my traction's good. Yeah, we're good. Now we're setting the corner, no problemo. Easy, easy. But each turn is different. Each turn has its own, I don't know, its own character. What you can't expect on most interstates, maybe all of them, is that their turns are not going to be gnarly because they know people are going to be doing around 80 on this road. That's why they set the speed limit the way they do. Look, I'm doing 79 right now, at least indicated, probably a little bit slower because my speedometer reads fast. And these guys are doing the same speed. They're not going to do like a really tight turn on an interstate. I've never seen that. It's going to be a wide sweeping radius designed to keep people safe. Risk and work. Now, let's say you ride two up and you have someone on the back of your motorcycle. Guess what? Your numbers just went up. And guess what? You can't lower them that much. You're not going to really change your numbers with a passenger on. I would say probably you're at a 3 and a 3. Your work may, like right now, let's say Mrs. Nutfancy's on the back of my motorcycle, plus we have luggage. I think my work could go down to 2. I mean, maybe even a 1. But in traffic, my numbers are going to be pretty high because I'm dealing with a lot more weight on the bike and it's going to handle differently, brake differently. I would say, generally speaking, in an urban environment, work will be 3 to 4 for me. Risk will be 3 to 4, maybe lower. I think it's more for me a work thing. Like when you stop and you have someone else on the back of the motorcycle, balance, you know, it becomes more of an issue because you might fall left, fall right. You know, if you start off, which I did one year on this bike with Mrs. Nutfancy, I started off in 3rd gear. I didn't switch down to 1st, and I fell over on that. Well, not all the way, but I kind of leaned the bike off. She had to jump off. It was super embarrassing. She's like, "Nice job." I'm like, "Sorry, man. I thought it was in 1st gear," and it was just, I just looked a fool. I didn't dump the bike on the pavement, but I like came off of it and had to catch it. It was just embarrassing. But had I been alone, that would have been a non-issue. But because we had, you know, bags, Lord, the side bags were full, and then weight, I just wasn't ready for it. Nice valley here. This whole area is very beautiful. Really, really strikingly beautiful near the coast. Dirt bikes right there. You're going to have work and risk ratings on your dirt bike as well. When I'm on the dirt and I'm on gravel, I'm probably a minimum of 3 and 3. My work is pretty high because I have to monitor what the road's doing, and it's a lot of focus. In the turns, I'm working hard to make sure I don't dump it. I'm selecting my speed carefully. I'm considering braking. Braking on gravel or a rocky surface can be very problematic. Work is least medium high, so is risk. And I've said that about dirt riding. Everyone acts like dirt riding is just so benign. It's not. It's not. I see more people in casts, you know, their arm casts, busted bones from dirt riding than I do street riding. Unless they track. If they track their bike, I see a lot of people in casts from tracking their bike. I was just in cycle gear, and there are 2 dudes. Okay, here we go. I'm passing right here. Risk on that was about a 3 for me. I'm about a 3 and 3 right now. But there's an opportunity to pass. I never went to 4 on that, never went to 5 for my experience level. Now you in the camera may be looking at it and go, "Oh my gosh, my skin's crawling with that." That's you. That's your experience level. That's how you perceive it if you're on the bike. For me, that's a 3 and 3. It's really fun throwing these out to you, this whole concept, because it's a way to judge what's going on and judge what you're doing. Right now in this turn, 1 and 1. 1 and 1. Easy turn. No traffic ahead of me. Oh, let me say this too. I was talking about dirt riding. I may come back to that. But when I'm riding with another dude, like Sean's back there, that can add a lot to your numbers as well. I've been talking pretty much single motorcycle rider. I maybe should have added a little more for Sean to think and consider about your riding mate, because that's a distraction, right? That's why I say you always put your most experienced dude in the lead. Whoever has the most riding experience, whoever knows the area better, whoever can multitask the best. Because look at the jobs that lead's doing. Like that, I decided we're passing right there, and I knew Sean can hang with me. I don't need to call him on interphone. I know he'd hang with me. But I'm running ways here. I have radar I'm monitoring, navigation, speed selection, road surface, cop threats. Maybe I do a Waze report. I'm not doing it here because I'm approaching a turn. Cruise control off, that way I'm in control. Pick the line. This corner right here, I'm going to give 2 for risk, 2.5 for work. I'm paying attention to the road signs. So right here it says caution, sharp curves ahead. So you're not just driving for you, you're driving for the team. And I like to keep mine as a pair. I don't like 3 dudes in my riding group. I like 4 or even more. No thank you. 2. A pair. And that guy that's riding with me has got to be squared away, experienced, reliable, like Sean is. I don't ever have to worry about Sean. So my numbers I'm giving you are, I said if you're riding with another dude, they should be higher. I would put an asterisk on that. If you have ridden with this guy so many times as Sean and I have, it really won't add too much to your numbers, because you know he's going to be there. He's making his own number selection too, because sometimes I'll pass, like on this trip I'll pass and I don't expect Sean to follow. Like if suddenly the slot closes, I'm not thinking of him, oh look at that pussy, he didn't pass. We never do that. And also my riding mates like Sean, they don't have ego. We're not ego possessed, he and I. We're not trying to outdrive each other. We don't do that. If you have someone who's ego driven in the drive like Bucket Nuster was, you probably shouldn't be driving with him, because he's putting your numbers higher. Because he's not driving his own game, he's trying to impress you. So he's trying to be faster than you, make better lines than you, show what a badass he is in the canyon. I say don't drive with someone like that. Just say, oh no, dude, you go on. I mean, thanks for the ride, but I'm good. That's how a lot of guys get hurt, is that the ego comes into the motorcycle game. Whatever they're riding, could be dirt bikes, dual sports, super sports, sport tourers, could be Harleys, baggers. And then they're trying to show how they're the best rider in the group, and then they take these risks that they and the bike are not ready for, and they end up getting hurt. That's another reason I like driving with Sean. He and I are just like, nah, we just don't have any ego. Like if I, for whatever reason, I choose a slower speed on a road, he's never like calling me on earphones like, dude, speed up, what are you doing? Not a word said. Same when he's in the lead. I ain't saying nothing. The only time I'll ever say something to a lead is if I think his speed selection is too high. Then I'll call on earphones like, I'll probably slow it down here. And it's not really for the numbers, it's more for cop stuff, because you're probably going to get a ticket, and I don't want to get a ticket. Like he's blasting through like an urban area, and I'm like, dude, you need to like watch out for cops. It's not probably the best selection. So we talked about having another person on your bike, talked about riding in groups, how those will raise your numbers, risk and work. Also just carrying things on your bike. So if you have luggage that's changing the balance and the handling of your bike, that will increase your risk level. So look at Sean. Can you guys see Sean? See, he's standing up right now because he's letting the blood flow in his butt. So his numbers for doing that probably raised a little bit. But again, it's okay to go to higher numbers. You just don't want to stay there very long. And this is a long drive, so you want your ass to circulate. Let me see this thing's on. Now, dirt riding numbers. Can we decrease and minimize our numbers in the dirt ride? Yeah, it works pretty much the same way on road. So speed selection is probably the most important thing you can do when you dirt ride. So how fast are you going down the road? Again, Buggenusser would just choose these insanely stupid speeds. Like we're on gravel and he's doing 80 miles an hour, and I'm like, dude, what? We're on interphone. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? That's the way I like to ride, which wasn't true. He doesn't ride that fast when he's alone. He's doing it with me to show what a badass he is. Again, ego. That's why he was doing it. I'm just showing I can't have you be a better dirt rider than me, so I'm just going to show you up at every opportunity I can. That's what he was doing. Yeah, I quit riding with him for a long time ago. He's an idiot. So I just like, okay, speed selection. Just choose something reasonable for your experience level on the dirt. If you're trail riding through the trees like I showed in Hood River, Oregon, you know, you need to go slow. Have time to navigate trees. I mean, there's guys that have been single tracking in areas like this, and they want to show that they're, you know, they're super awesome dirt riders, single track riders, and they slam right into a freaking tree. They got to get helicoptered out. No, don't do that. Now, dirt riding, just like road riding, is highly based on experience. Your numbers are not my numbers. Here comes a pass. Downshift. Oh, he's moving out of the way. Good. Back to 1 and 1. Yeah, so if you practice a lot of dirt on the same bike, on the same trails, it's automatically going to bring your numbers down on that ride. It's going to bring your numbers down because you're just used to it. And the more you practice, the more confident you get, the more comfortable you are, the better you multitask, the less risk you're taking on. Sean and I, by the way, you see him in the rear view there? See how it's a great riding position? That is a perfect formation position that Sean has right there. It's not too close. We're both offset. Really good job. I don't have to tell him that. He just knows. But the more you drive, and again, I've said this over and over again, the better you're going to be. Here, I'm going to take the single line. When you guys go around a corner and you're driving in a group, don't try to offset in the corner. You're done. You're going to choose whatever line you want for your bike. Once you come out on the straight, now I go back to offset. I hit resume on the cruise control. So I don't know if Sean knew that. Like when I first started driving with him years ago, I was like, because he was trying to offset in the corner. I was like, oh no, don't offset. Like you choose your line, and your number 2 guy, it's up to him to avoid you if you drop it. But by you trying to offset in a corner, by that I mean you're trying to stay in either the right portion of the lane or the left portion of the lane. It's not wise. And if you talk about, this is a little bit off subject, but we are riding in a pair right here. If you talk about leading your motorcycle group, again, it's your most experienced rider, the guy who has the best judgment, the most maturity. Oh, by the way, that doesn't apply with Sean and I. The reason I'm leading all the time is because I have radar and I have cruise control. That's, you may be thinking, well, why isn't Sean leading? Well, he does and can, but he doesn't have cruise control on that bike, and so I'm burning more gas. Our speeds are fluctuating. If you only have one cruise control bike and the guy's a good rider, you might think about putting him up front. I forgot what I was talking about though before I went there. I was talking about lane offsetting though, and you know, and don't. Oh, I know where I was going. I was talking about lead. So my rule as lead, when you're leading the motorcycle procession, is lead can do whatever he wants to do. It's his job to be in there. So let's say we're driving in a pair, which we are right now. It's his job to stay with me, according to his own skill level and judgment. Maybe your lead makes a decision you don't like, that he shoots a gap to do a pass, which I have done, and I'm sure I'll do it in the future. But let's say lead does that, and he goes, well, number 2 guy I'm talking, he goes, I'm not doing that. That's too risky for me. Sean does that. You make your own decisions back there. You're not like a blind follower, but generally, if it makes sense to be in position, be in position. And if lead wants to come over to the right side of the road, offset. If he wants to come over to the left side of the road, you offset. It's your job to adapt to lead. And he's thinking, hopefully, ahead. He's planning, hopefully, ahead. Let's see, my numbers for this turn are 2 and 2. It might be a little bit higher because I have a concrete wall there. Yeah, I want to stay with 2 and 2, though. Maybe for you, they'd be a little bit higher. Came off cruise control. Peeled off a couple miles an hour initially, and then I go right back into it. Now, on interstates and actually all roads, their signs that they show you, those are for basically cars, vans, high center of gravity vehicles. So you go, oh man, I wouldn't take that corner for more than 60. Well, if you're inexperienced, I say that's probably a good idea. By the way, you should be in the right lane when you do it. Don't be clogging your fast lane up. Take the corner as you see necessary. Speed selection is paramount. Just be safe. Don't drive faster than you're comfortable with. And if you go on a group ride and you feel uncomfortable, you just feel nervous and you don't feel really comfortable with the group you're with, they're probably driving too fast for your experience level. And you probably should not ride with them anymore. Maybe if you get more experience, you feel more comfortable, you can. Here we go to about 3 and 3. Right here on that turn. 3 and 3. Fun video. Hopefully helpful video. It's a safety video given for you to quantify a certain situation. And it's going to curse you. I say curse. It's actually going to bless you. But you're going to be thinking about it all the time now. You're going like, what's my work level? What's my risk level? And I'm so glad that that's where I want you guys to be. And take pride in lowering your numbers. So if you can lower your numbers, do it. Usually. You don't have to live with low numbers all the time. There's certain situations where maybe you will accept more work, more risk. To have fun, to perform the bike at a higher level, just realize you're taking on more risk, more work. Probably a lot more I could say about this, but this video has gone long enough. It is an on-motorcycle safety philosophy video. Work, risk. Know what you're doing. And by the way, you can apply that in life too. It does not have to be on a motorcycle. You can apply it on a vehicle, any vehicle, car, risk and work. Know your numbers. Try to keep them low if you can. Nutnfancy, thank you so much. We have a lot more driving to go. Maybe I do some more in-helmet narration on something down the road. Sean, great motorcyclist, great friend, great companion. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to get out and do this stuff. I hope you guys will be able to do it too. We're going to go up here and hopefully find some place to eat. We haven't eaten today. Nutnfancy.